Hey everybody, and welcome to North Bay Live. Take a minute here just to welcome some of you that I see that have signed on here, watching on Facebook. Hello Reagan Meyer, and hello Brianna Wells. Bo Cotton, hello to you. Glad that you've joined us. Robbie and Bobby and Clayton. Glad you guys are watching from home. And hey, my buddy John King, he's watching us. Oh wait,
I see Kaylin.
Kaylin.
She's out there. Phil Kaiser. He's
Phil,
up.
yeah, Phil and Anita are watching. I see Melissa. Thanks for joining me, hun. That's so sweet.
She's
Beth,
so supportive.
She is so supportive.
Yeah,
Isn't it great to have a supporting wife?
for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Edith, welcome to the show. Deb, welcome. So, welcome
Hola.
to tonight. What were you going to say? I cut you off?
I don't know.
Oh.
I was saying hola to Deb.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show tonight. We're glad that you guys are with us. We're excited about having another conversation between Sean and John that you get to listen to. We hope that you are entertained, encouraged, and uplifted perhaps by some of the things that we share together tonight. We've got some fun things, I think, in store, or at least some good things to share with you tonight.
Good, yeah.
We are enjoying coming to you this way. I hope that it's an enjoyment to you, and we want to encourage you that as you have opportunities, send us some feedback about what you're liking or not liking as we come to you on Wednesday nights. But even more so, share with us some things that you're seeing, either things that are funny, things that are encouraging. Send us some Facebook things or some other social media outlet pictures and whatnot that you've seen, or just stories maybe that you've heard about fellow brothers and sisters, or even sister congregations, or just people in the world that you thought were good stories to be shared. We would love to have some of that information to share.
We've got some social media satire to share that we found. There may be some better stuff out there, but there's definitely some good stuff out there. A little bit of time on your hands, you become very creative. I saw this and thought, man, somebody took some time with some artistry and thinking through some language. She died last Friday. Thank God she was not beaten. Don't worry, she is over easy. She's now on the sunny side, and she's definitely on a better plate.
Aha. Yeah, so with the opening up of the state and the opening up of other states across the nation, and things sort of seeming like we're on maybe the back side of this thing, here's a great little picture that says, kind of beware, because while one pandemic is ending, there could be another one coming. Godzilla out there in the distance, maybe.
Yeah, some of us kind of laugh at this. So the media has kind of spun some things in a different way. Lysol does kill germs. And, if you want to get it direct to where the germs are going to grow, your lungs are where it's at. So, I think this will kill the germs.
Yeah?
I'm not sure about life.
You're going to market it.
But I think it's in testing, and it may be coming out soon.
And here's a throwback for those of you that are my age or a little bit older. This will be a good throwback for you. The rest of you may have trouble getting it. So to the folks that are off camera, our producer and co-producer back there, Audrey and Reagan, do y'all get it?
Yes.
What is it?
Hammer time!
Hammer time! Stop! It's hammer time! Somebody was very bored during their COVID isolation times.
Absolutely.
And I think if you could see the Audrey right now, her face is very, very red, maybe, as her father has embarrassed her.
You know that there's been a lot of sit time during all this COVID, and I can tell you that looks just like one of those high back chairs, and sometimes we sit a little bit too long for our own good. I think it's good that things are going to be moving, opening up, but we got to keep going.
Yeah, and take a close look, because at first glance it just looks like a guy wearing a mask. But dig in a little deeper, look deeper into that picture, and what do we really have? A bald guy with his head bent over, and
Looking
it
at his
just
phone.
looks like he's wearing a mask,
Yep.
but he's not really. Oh, the challenges of having little to no hair. I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, definitely. I choose this
Yeah.
this look.
So hey, I want to take a moment to remind you, use the comment bars either on Facebook if you're watching on Facebook. Also, if you're watching on the website, there should be a comment bar there. Use those chat bars or comment bars to communicate with one another as you see other people watching, to laugh or hiss. Give us a boo if you if it was a bad one. Whatever. But use that comment bar as your place to interact with one another. That's one of the things that we're missing. Probably the most is just interacting with each other. And so if you want to reach out and handshake with somebody, we'll use that comment bar. Don't feel like you have to be stuck sitting there just listening. Communicate with one another through that chat window. We're kind of watching it here at our screen, so if you've got a question or comment that you want to make to us or share with the family, we'll try to keep up with that and also share those throughout the show. So
Sure.
comment bar is there. Use it. Use the like buttons. Use the hearts. Use the whatever you got. Whatever's there. Interact with one another. We see on the website, Tommy and Pat are joining us, so that's great to have them with us. Not everybody gets to see. You don't get to see both places. If you're watching on Facebook, you have no idea who might be on the website or vice versa. So Pat and Tommy, welcome to the show. All right.
You want to do catch up on COVID?
Yeah, let's get no. Let's talk about submission reports.
Okay. Yeah. Had a little bit of opportunity and time to reach out to some of the mission work that's out there that we support, and was trying to just feel out how they're doing during this time. DRT was one of them, and called and spoke to those guys up there. Everybody's well. Nobody's got the COVID. Everybody's well, but they have had to alter the way they do their program. As we well know, one of their biggest assets is when they have people come in. They have big groups come in, and they come in this workforce, and it's awesome. But when COVID started, they were in Tennessee doing work with the churches there. And they basically had to pull back and say nobody can come and stay overnight. So they had to figure out, what to do with that. And so basically they're providing tools, they're providing the leadership, and they're trying to help the churches get through this time with some of that day labor. And they are looking forward to being able to go back full. I know that they're still in Middle Tennessee after those hurricanes, working with those churches there. And one of the good things is they were able to help some of the healthcare workers during this time. They had a pretty big supply of N95 masks, Tyvek, and the exam gloves. So they in turn said, well, we've got some of this extra stuff. Let's share it. And they were able to give it to hospitals, fire departments, and the EMS that were definitely running short during all this situation. They really don't know. They're kind of like us in limbo. They don't know, what the next hurdle is, or even when that next hurdle is coming. But they're proactively trying to search that stuff out as they go. The other one that I was able to reach out to was the pregnancy center. Of course, I have a little connection there, but they in turn had to pull back on some of their actions that they normally do. They normally are hugging and taking care of moms and babies, and giving out supplies, doing education, things of that nature. So they had to kind of pull back on all that. They had basically drive-by supply. The families would pull up, they would come get an order, would be ready for them, they'd take it out to them, and they were doing some online training with them as well. So that is continuing. The retail store that supports that and supports the moms was shut down for this period of time, but they'll actually be opening Friday.
Great.
Another thing that they do, they normally have a fundraiser every year, which is probably one of their biggest financial supports. Well, this year they couldn't do it physically, so they had to do it online.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Jana and some of the board were concerned because, is it going to turn out well?
Right.
And I don't think the numbers are what they normally were, but I think they were surprised that people still gave and had true hearts like they always do.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that they normally tell you what they kind of the last year,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things is how many babies were saved. This year, 481 babies were saved because of their actions.
So 2019.
2018, well, 2018 up till 2019. No, I'm sorry, 2019. You're correct.
Okay.
2019, 481 babies were saved.
Okay.
So that's
Fantastic.
awesome numbers. It's up from the previous year, and they were tracking when COVID came in. They were tracking to be even higher this year than last. So, I think with people staying at home, babies are going to be more prevalent. So,
Yeah.
they're going to be they're going to be working harder now than they ever have, I think.
Yeah.
Some of the things that they're doing is they were provided with a facility in Rockport. There was a facility that closed down, and their leadership said we want to provide this to the community, and with that they ended up donating that to the pregnancy center. So their plan is to open up a facility just like they have in Portland and Corpus in the Rockport area. So with that, if you live in that area and you want to support them, reach out. They'll be glad to take some assistance from you. Another thing that they said is there's on Facebook there's the Best of 2020, which is where you can kind of reach out and vote on businesses, people that you believe in that do a good job, and basically if they can get enough votes to win that thing, that gives them a whole lot more notoriety. So that's a great thing if you want to reach out on Facebook and vote.
Yeah.
for them.
So if you're listening and you're a Facebook user, look up 2020.
Best of 2020.
Best of 2020 on Facebook, and vote for the Pregnancy Care Center so that they have a chance of being the recipients of some prize money, I guess, or some an award of some kind that will
notoriety.
help them in their moving forward and in their mission. Talking about mission updates, our mission point reports. Few of you would know this, but nearly 2 weeks ago, on the 19th, we were supposed to have with us a man named Carlos Ingles from Houston at the Impact Church Christ. He is the bilingual minister there. I've known Carlos for several years now, and he is doing phenomenal work there in that community. And he has he's married. He's got 2 children, I believe. One's relatively newborn, several months old, I think. Audrey will correct me at some point. But anyway, great little family, and he's in need of and been searching for some additional support. And he was scheduled to come and speak with us on the 19th of April and give us a chance to evaluate his work, get to know him, and consider bringing him on as one of the missionaries that we support. Well, given all the mess that we're in, we didn't do that. I called Carlos and I said, "Hey man, I still want you to come, but right now, since we're not meeting together, we're just really struggling. And I think we need to hit the pause button." to which he understood, but in the same breath, that doesn't change his situation for needing to gain some support. So I want to encourage you. I'm dreaming and thinking about how we can move forward with that with him. So maybe in the next few weeks, there may be maybe here on our Wednesday night time, or on Sunday morning, or maybe some of both. There may be some interviews or some communication with Carlos that we share to get the congregation aware of who he is and of his needs, and to allow us in our time, as we make some other plans, to evaluate whether he's someone that we're interested in bringing on as a missionary that we support. So something to be thinking about, and something I want to ask the congregation to engage in prayer about. One, that we can make a time, that we can work out a time that he can share with us. And two, that support, be it coming from us or from other congregations, support for him to continue in the ministry he's doing can be found for Carlos. But, we're struggling as a church to see how to keep things going, and the missionaries are no different. They're being taxed just like we are, challenged just like we are, and in many cases without the resources that we have, and certainly without the support groups that we have. So I want to encourage you to keep them in your prayers.
Sure.
So segue, we've made use of this time a little bit, this time out of the building. Probably the right way to say it is Sean's made use of it to really wreck this place up and make a mess out of it. The intention, though, has been to make some improvements and make some changes, some small, low-cost or no-cost changes that will help us. And so we wanted to take just a minute to show you some of the things that have taken place and some of the things that we hope are going to happen over the next couple of weeks here around the building at our place. And so we're going to put some pictures up on the screen. This one you may or may not recognize exactly where it's at, but it's the sound booth.
Yep.
You have seen in the previous weeks where we had the desk beside it and the old sound booth there. We wanted to put all that behind one section together, clean it up and tidy it up. And so you can see we only took one picture. It's almost complete. It should be finished by the end of this week, I believe, and will be equipment moved back in. I think that's going to be a great low-cost update to our facility, allowing our just allowing for a little better atmosphere here in the worship.
Ladies, do not fear. That is not the color it's going to be.
Aw, you don't like white?
Well,
you don't like primer white? I mean, what's wrong with that?
We're hoping to get that finished before we all come back together, for sure.
Yeah. So the next one is, again, you may not recognize it. I was surprised by a member, I think it was Jim West, that I was visiting with one day, who made comment that he had never been back into this room.
In that room?
But it's the conference room, the space that we have used as the conference room for a while. And John, tell them a little bit about what we're thinking here.
Well, we've had several different thought processes on it, but we're kind of concerned with having the children in one building and us in a different building during services. One for convenience, but one for safety. As far we've got when we start spreading out like that, that's a difficult situation. So we have decided to take the nursery from the children's wing and bring it over and put it in this room that pretty much highly underutilized. It's like I said, a lot of people don't go in it anyway, but so it's a nice size room.
Yeah.
It's going to need some updates.
Absolutely.
And I think we're going to need some help with that. So
yeah, we are. And so there's kind of a plan underway. We want to move the nursery over here, and I think that's going to be a huge blessing and a huge positive thing for us, for visitors and for young families that are interested in being here and using the nursery. One thing I want to note is some of these changes that we've done and that we're working towards, a lot of them came out of some of the time that we spent together Wednesday night discussing several months ago, and a lot of these things we're looking for, and we're seizing the opportunity while the building's empty to make some of these changes to better improve our appeal, the eye appeal, if you will, and just the comfort level of people as they
functionality.
come. And I'm really excited about this particular one of moving the nursery over into our main facility, and so mothers can feel better about their children being here in the same building with them. So we're kind of mapping out our plans and desire for what needs to happen in this space. And we will be releasing a call for help as we need it, to maybe paint or to move furnishings or to do whatever.
Decorate.
I was going to decorate. You don't think I should decorate the nursery?
I'm not. Well, we might not be that mature, but I don't think we're on that level.
So anyway, I'm excited about that change. I think that's going to be a really positive one for the group of folks that need a nursery. The other one that we have a picture of here is I ought to give a prize to who can notice what's missing. Sometimes, we get so accustomed to
something
being there that it just blends in with the scenes. But no, here on the front stage, the first set of those, I kept calling them prayer rails, but those rails that were here on the front, we removed the first set because it was kind of in the way of our filming and our producing of these live streams. And while we were at it, we thought, hey man, that looks so good, and we went ahead and took out the other one, and it really opens up the stage and just kind of opens up the front of the building.
I think it helps take away some separation.
Yeah.
It seems like, even though it was not a real barrier, it seems like it's kind of joined that back together.
Reagan, before we leave, hit the arrow one more time and go back to the picture that we started with. There we go. So I know this is the sound booth, and we already talked about it. But before you see the sound booth, John, what do you see in front of those sound booths besides the junk?
The stuff that needs to be put up.
Yeah, but what the stuff that needs to be put up? What's it sitting on?
Oh, it's sitting on pews.
On pews, and I hadn't noticed it until I saw this picture. Those pews need some attention, don't they?
Yeah, they don't have much color left on them, for sure.
No color left. Why do you suppose there's no color on those pews?
The back ones are used a whole lot more.
That's the back row. We need to rotate the pews or something,
That's right? Switch them around.
Or how about this? Maybe instead of rotating the pews, okay, you can close the picture now. Maybe instead of rotating the pews to try to get even wear on them, how about we just remove the pews and bring in chairs that are padded and comfortable, so that you can all sleep more comfortably during my sermons than you currently are.
Well, that would be a challenge now. You're going to have to step it up. But I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So we've talked about it before and mentioned it to several other folks about the possibility of replacing these pews with some chairs. We've looked into it, and I think we're going to get the ball rolling. And if we can get them, the goal is to update the seating in here with chairs because of the flexibility that they offer. And this is a good time to have some flexibility in our seating, because when we come back together, we need to practice some social distancing and some better space between us. And then it also provides us with opportunity to use this room in more ways than just lecture style or typical worship. And so we've got the ball rolling on finding some replacements. Seating, and I'm really excited about that. although I don't sit out there very long or very much, I'm excited about that for the church family and for some of the things that it's going to do functionally for us in this space.
Absolutely.
And so I hope that not too many people will be upset about the pews leaving, but really excited about the chairs coming in and providing us some more functionality and some greater flexibility.
And I would say that if there's a member who really wants a pew, they can have first dibs on them.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so the pews have to go somewhere, right? And so we can make arrangements. If you want one for your home, we can get that done.
They're 15 foot long, just in case you need to know.
They are 15 foot long. I do happen to know they can be cut down.
You can make them smaller.
If
Yeah.
you can find somebody that's stupid enough, that's willing to cut them down for you, they can be made smaller. You might check with Clayton and Sharon and see how they're liking their pew.
Yeah.
And you might determine that you want one too. But we're excited about that and hope that it will be. We're really going to work hard at having that done before we're able to, or as we come back together to meet. We'll keep you updated on some of those, all of these changes as they're taking place. But
I
anyway,
think that might be a good time to talk about what does the future hold. And
sure.
I don't think we know, but I think we're gonna see a few weeks go by, and we're gonna kind of feel things out. But I know that the elders, the leadership, we've talked about some of these things, and we don't have any dates, we don't have any concrete situations, but we are going to reach out to you guys to get some feedback. There should be in your email a questionnaire that we'd like you to fill out and send back to us. This information is stuff that we think we have the idea, and we think we have the right idea. We hope that we're thinking this through, but we want to see what the family has to say about it as well.
Yeah, so let's try to summarize real quick what John's saying. We were talking about taking advantage of this time out of the building and trying to get things done before you get back. Well, here's so the natural question: when are we coming back? Mm-hmm. You've heard, like we've heard, that the state's opening up. You've heard some of the recommendations, if you will, from the governor, and the leadership has met and continues to meet to discuss what that means and when can we get back together. And the short answer is we don't know yet. There's no date set yet. One of the things that we did decide on in our last meeting together, which was last night, was that we wanted to hear from you, and it was right to hear from you about some things and where you were and how you were feeling, and gather all that information that we can and get a feel for how the family as a whole feels about getting back together. So you should have in your emails just about an hour or so ago received a link to a survey. It's about 11 or 12 questions long. Most of them are just a simple quick click of a button, but we're inviting you and we're asking you, we're pleading with you to please check your emails, click on the place where it says short survey. That's a link, so click on that. It will bring you out to a form. It shouldn't take you more than maybe 5 minutes to complete that survey. It is anonymous. I started to put a place where you could add your name if you wanted to, but I don't think I even did that. So totally anonymous. So just tell us how you're feeling. That gives us some information from the family to consider as we also look at what the governmental entities, national, state, local, what they're all saying, and help us to make the best plan possible. understand that as the leadership, we want to be back together too.
Absolutely.
But not at the expense of anyone's safety or at the risk of anyone else. And so we're weighing in all of those things, and we think a big piece that we need to have is where you are, how you're feeling.
Absolutely.
And so please, please, please do that. We're going to work hard this week to get those surveys back. If you know somebody that doesn't receive email, I'm going to request, give them a call and take that survey with them, get their answers, get delivered over the phone and get their answers so that they get a chance to submit and participate as well.
So what I just heard is you can take your survey and then you can help somebody else take it with that same form.
Absolutely. You can reload the form. It's not limited to a single person response. Now, it's not a vote, so don't go stuffing the ballot box, right? Only fill it out once for yourself, but if you know somebody else that it would be a blessing for you to help them, yes, you could go back to that form and fill it out for them so that I never want the technology that we use to be a source of anxiety for anybody. Mm-hmm. And I know that for some of our members, it is. When you start talking technology, it's a source of anxiety, and it's those people that I'm asking the rest of us to connect with and help, so that it doesn't have to be an anxious moment for them, but they can participate in what the family is doing. I guess the final note I want to add to that is while we don't know when we are coming back together, based on what I've heard our governor say, I would encourage you, if your family is comfortable, I would encourage you on Sunday mornings and maybe even on Wednesday night for this show to consider inviting someone to come and join you as you engage in the worship time together that we're offering on the stream. If it fits within your comfort level or your family's ability, I would encourage that. Use it as a missional opportunity. You know, if nothing else, invite your neighbor or somebody that you want to introduce to North Bay, or more importantly, to Jesus, to come and participate with you. But also certainly use it as a way to connect with North Bay family members that you've been missing that connection with. With the way things are going, I think it's fair, and that's within the guidelines of the government, for us to encourage you, if your family's comfortable and if those that you would be inviting are comfortable, use these opportunities as a chance to get together and reconnect with some of the family.
And one thing I'd like to say is, ladies, if your house is dirty, you can invite yourself to somebody else's house. It's okay. It's all good. Just bring the dish, or bring something with you. Housewarming.
We picked up from a friend in Brownwood several years ago a good stance to take. If you feel like your house is dirty, it's not dirty, and your response to anybody who might say that it is no, it's just lived in.
For sure.
It's just lived in. It's not dirty. It's just lived in.
We do a lot of living in our house.
Yes. Well, so there you have it. We don't know. We'll keep you informed about things as they progress and what our plans are as we move forward. But we are committed to getting us back together as soon as it is
feasible,
safe, right, and feasible. So just stay tuned and stay with us and listen for the way that plan unfolds. Most importantly, though, right now, take the survey, because that helps us a lot.
Sure. And what's going to happen in the days to come is really based around the COVID numbers and what that looks like and where it's going to go. So, let's start by looking at where we're at right now. Texas is actually doing pretty good if you look across the nation. As far as what's being reported out there, the numbers are still increasing a little bit, but they have been on a decline. Our deaths are there at 732 for the state. If you look at Nueces County, as far as those who have been infected, we're sitting still under 100. We're at 99. And then San Pat County is at 12. So we have lower numbers, whether that's because of our humidity and heat, which is you go back and forth. Does that help or not help? But expect numbers to increase over the next few weeks. With people coming out of their homes, with people going into public, it's just going to naturally come up. As well as the fact that there's going to be more and more testing being done. They're going to be doing more diligent, and they're widening out their scope of people that they're going to be testing on. So expect the numbers to come up. And I believe that those who are in the know are looking for those numbers to come up some. And I think this is a kind of one of those things. Let's see how it goes. Okay, did we overtax ourselves, or can we continue on?
Yeah.
The other thing is, the numbers that the governor put out is those who are 80 years or older, the mortality rate is 48%. So those are the highest ones at risk. And of course, I think it's 49%. No, I'm sorry. Mortality rate's 48. 75% of those 65 and over are the ones that they're seeing that are having the death rates.
Yeah.
So,
it is good that we're seeing this opening up of everything going, but yeah, we would be a little bit, I'm searching for a word and I can't find it, but it would be silly of us to assume that means that we're in the clear.
yeah, for sure.
And the expectation certainly should be that even though things are opening back up, the numbers aren't necessarily going to stay in that decline area. We're probably going to see a little bit of an uptick, and
Sure.
the question really becomes how much of an uptick.
Yeah.
And so we cautiously, right? Everybody should cautiously move forward into the new way, or into the opening up, or the getting out, and not be surprised perhaps. And this is just speculation, but not be surprised perhaps if in another week or two things tighten back down just a little bit, because maybe we got out a little too early.
Too premature, yeah.
So we'll see, but we do see it as a positive sign, and that's why as a leadership we're beginning now to plan for the day that's coming that we get back together, and so excited about that. Well, hey, that's enough talk about all the junk in the world. Let's talk a little bit tonight about God's Word, and about and see if we can't find some encouragement from God's written Word. So tonight we want to talk a little bit about a guy named Daniel. You'll remember Daniel's got a book written all about that bears his name in the Old Testament. We certainly are not going to talk about the whole book of Daniel. We're going to talk about what's captured really kind of in the first 6 chapters, which is our introduction into Daniel and who he is, and some of the things that happen early on, sort of setting the stage and giving almost credibility, if you will, to Daniel as a prophet and as one who was honored by God and blessed by God because of his faithfulness to him. But as the book of Daniel opens, we see that Daniel, along with 3 friends, I remember their Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego names. I can't remember their given names, but at any rate, we see that these 4 guys rather, that are in part of the Jewish people or Israelite people that are in captivity, we see that they're kind of looked upon with favor. And so they're put on this fast track, if you will, among their captors to be on the upside, or on the top end of the servant level, the servant ladder, so to speak. And they're going to gain some special privileges, but first they're kind of put through all this special schooling and special training. And in the midst of it, as they're going through their training for under this new rule in Babylon, they are given this strict diet that is against their beliefs. And so they're sitting there forced with a decision to make. Are we going to hold to our faith and continue our religious practices?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to cave to our captors and go against our religious convictions and beliefs? And so Daniel and his friends stand up for their beliefs. We see that Daniel will go and say, look, give us our diet for a period of time and see if we're not in good enough health to continue. And so that happens. So they give they allow them to eat their diet and not break their religious convictions. And wouldn't you know, God blesses them. God works on their behalf because of their faithfulness, and they are not just in line with everybody else that ate the captor's diet, but are actually above and beyond. Yeah. And so God blesses them in that way. Then we go a little bit further, and this doesn't relate to Daniel as much, but his three friends. We see the story of the fiery furnace, where again they're challenged in their to maintain their own faith convictions, their convictions and their belief in God as the only God, and not bow down to any idols, or to abandon those and bow down to Nebuchadnezzar's statue. They hold to their faith. God blesses them and delivers them from the fire. A really, really cool story. We don't have time really to talk about that one because we're really focusing just on Daniel. And so then you get the story of Daniel doing the same thing. So Daniel has finished his training. He's risen to a high place of power. Even though he's still a servant, he holds this great place of power in the kingdom. And all the other natives are jealous, bottom line.
Sure.
And so they're looking for a way to get Daniel out of the picture.
Demand him, yeah.
And it really says a lot about Daniel, because the only way they can get Daniel out of the picture is to challenge his faith and his convictions of faith. And so they go to the king and they say, look, we think that you should call for a time of praise only to you. And no one should be allowed to pray or praise any other being but you.
Right.
And so, of course, they were targeting Daniel, and they knew that Daniel was so deep in his convictions of faith that this would get him, that this would put him at a bad place. And so the king says, hey, that's a great idea. Everybody has to praise me. What's wrong with that? And so he puts that decree out, not really thinking about Daniel. And that's an interesting point in this episode that I've always keyed in on. So you know, or most of you know, that the king puts out the decree, and Daniel says, I'm still praying. He had a routine. He had a regular day of prayer, a regular time of prayer. So he goes to his room, he opens his window, and he kneels and prays. And guess what? Those jealous guys are watching. They knew that was going to happen, and they were watching. And so they saw it. They go to the king, and they said, hey, Daniel broke the rules. You got to issue the punishment. The king's not happy with that.
Ooh, he's sad about that.
He's very sad about that. And that's the thing that I think is very interesting to note. But he also can't go against himself.
The decree, yeah.
And so he orders Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. Daniel's thrown in with the lions. The rock is rolled over to cover it up so that he can't get out. And the next morning, if you read that account, the next morning, Nebuchadnezzar goes running out to the lion's den to see what has happened to Daniel. And he was ecstatic to find that Daniel was still alive. And it became an opportunity for Daniel to give credit to God and to really just praise him in that moment and for God to be known again among the people.
And
So-
Belteshazzar, the king, you can tell how much he liked Daniel because, I mean, even when he put him in, he said, "May your living God save you."
Yes.
And then it says that he fasted
Yes.
and he had no entertainment brought to him. So all night he spent in fasting, which was something that you wouldn't see a king do over anybody but his own family. So it definitely, bodes well on Daniel in that situation that this king really took a liking to Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I know we tried to hit mostly the high points there and the major events in the beginning of Daniel's life. But what are some of the lessons or the encouragements or the things that maybe we can take away from this scripture account for us?
There's so many different things that you can start digging into. I think Daniel first put God and then trusted in God in that situation. He didn't waver, but those jealous people, and in the lion's den portion, they were the ones that they were watching Daniel. They knew his routine.
Yeah.
They knew that he would go to his window and open it and face the east, and he would pray, and he would do just as he does every day. And they knew that we're going to get him that way. And there was some deeper portion of this. Those that were in there in that group, it says that there was about 120. So there's a big group of men who are going against this one man.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, those of us on the other end, they got their justice in the end. But it's interesting how this big group gets together and they try to overthrow one man because of this power situation.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm not finding a moment of encouragement just yet. The first thing that's jumping into my mind is actually sort of a moment of conviction for maybe us.
Yeah.
So let's put ourselves in Daniel's shoes for just a moment, and we're a person that's highly favored. Maybe our faith has us so connected with God in this relationship with Him. My question for you would be: what would people be able to, like they did with Daniel, would they be able to challenge you in a way that, I don't know how to say it. So they attacked his faith. If somebody attacked your faith, are you so convicted in it, or would they even have to attack your faith to find you weak, or to take you down, or to dethrone you? Or is our convictions of faith not deep enough that people don't even have to attack that? They can get us some other way.
There's been times in my life that people didn't know my faith.
Yeah.
I wasn't convicted enough to even share that faith or people to know that faith. Whether that's fear or, just trying to fit in, whatever that is, I would say, yeah, there's definitely times in life that that wouldn't be their top priority. That, hey, I'm going to get him because of his conviction. So,
how do you think in this place of exile? That's where Daniel is. He's not at home. He's away from his country. Likely not with his family. He's on his own with some friends. Maybe were they his friends prior to going into exile, or were they his
situational?
Or were they his friends because they're Israelites that are here together in this place? But what gave Daniel hope in the midst of this otherwise hopeless situation, right? Here he is in exile, away from his people, away from his country. His people don't even have really a country anymore. They've been conquered. So, everything he knows, his nation is under siege, so to speak, or certainly in exile.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, somehow, in everything we see with Daniel from the very beginning, it's always still hope and confidence and trust in the God who was letting this hopeless situation happen to his people.
Mm-hmm.
How does Daniel have hope in that moment?
Yeah, that's true. And that's one of those situations, I think you're going to see what you look for.
Yeah.
And in this situation, if he's looking towards the good and towards God, and that's the only thing I can think of is that when you look for the good in life, you see the good in life. If you look for the good in people, you see the good in people. If you're looking for the negative, that's what you're going to see. And so many times, media, shows, life in general, we tend to, as humans, focus on things of negative.
Yeah, I want to be careful about going too far down this
Right.
discussion because you're getting a preview maybe of where we might be on Sunday morning, but it is worth going this way. Don't we get what we prepare for?
Sure.
We get what we prepare for. Melissa and I were looking today at furniture, and one of the things that we were talking about as we were looking at couches as compared to the couch we currently have is we were discussing the difference between we have a sectional that on one side has this long chase lounge type thing where you can, and that's the seat that everybody goes to first, right? Because you can lay down, that's comfortable, that's where you can kind of stretch out. It also happens to be the best seat for the television viewing, and so what we're finding is when we prepare to sit in that seat, when we sit in that seat, what are we preparing for? We're preparing to veg and do nothing.
Yeah.
And so as we were looking at furniture today, we were discussing, well, there's the Chase Lounge, or there's just a traditional couch that's not quite as comfortable as this, but if we go that direction, then we might be motivated to do a little bit more in the day because we're not so comfortable
Yeah.
on the Chase Lounge where we have to say, oh, I got to make myself get up. Whatever we prepare for, if we prepare to be a slob that day, guess what's going to happen? That's what we're going to be. If we prepare to work, if we get up and put our work clothes on, well, then we're going to go to work, and that's what the day is going to entail for us. Go all the way back to when we discussed back in September and October when we were doing the Armor of God series. If we intentionally dress in the armor of God every morning, if we see to it that we put on the shoes of readiness and the gospel of peace, if we carry the sword, if we put on the breastplate of righteousness, wear the helmet, if we gear up, then we're preparing for the day and we're intentional about that, and we're going to see a great day. If we neglect it and cast aside all of those things, then yeah, we can expect it to be a difficult day. And so Daniel, I think you're right. I think here what we see is, yeah, he had every reason to let go of hope and abandon faith, but he chose not to. He chose, and he became intentional about trusting in God and staying true to his faith and God's promises. And he was blessed by that, and he had a glorious life, at least in the eyes of the Lord. He had a successful, that's not the right word, but he had a blessed life. And so I think he just chose to have hope, even though it seemed like a hopeless place.
I think that's his initial action, which caused God's reaction. He stepped forward in faith, and God, backed him up in that situation.
Yeah, really. Now, both of those two episodes that we read of at the beginning of Daniel, the diet and the lion's den, we'll talk about them that way. Both of those things were sort of governmental issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Governmental decrees. And I was thinking as I was thinking about tonight, there might be the temptation for us in this current COVID season to take the attitude that this is a Daniel moment, if you will. Because if we're not careful, we find ourselves believing that we have a government issue that says we cannot meet. And so we look at that and we go, oh, this is like Daniel. Well, I'm going to be Daniel, because everybody wants to be Daniel, right? Isn't there a song, children's Bible song, I want to be like Daniel? I want to be like Ruth, right? So I want to be like Daniel, and everybody says, I'm going to be Daniel, and I'm going to go against, and I'm going to meet. But I think it's important that we be careful, because Sean's opinion is this is not a Daniel moment. It is a moment to be faithful, and it is a moment to trust in God and to believe in His promises, but it's not a moment where we're being told we can't do this,
Sure.
so we have to stand up in face of that. Right?
Right. Yeah, I don't see this as somebody standing in front of God's decree. God, He's not saying, in this situation, this is the diet that you shall follow. And that was, God's decree. We're still able to do those things which God wants us to do. It's different.
Yeah.
And it may not be the way we like it. In this situation, this is also not about man's wanting to be risen. The Nebuchadnezzar deal, you have a statue, you're going to bow down to that because of I'm king. This is not that type of situation.
Right.
This is a situation, this is for our own good and our own health. So I think in this situation, this governmental ruling is for our own benefit. And I think at this point, I'm not seeing that in our religious doctrine being blocked anyway.
Right. So I think that maybe simply put, this is where Sean's thinking is, Daniel praying in defiance of the king's decree, maybe similar to what Peter and John faced as they stood before the Sanhedrin, being told not to preach Jesus' name, and their response was, is it better for me to obey man, rather than God? And so that's kind of where Daniel is. Is it better for me to obey man or obey God? This isn't that Daniel moment where we're having to defy man in order to obey God. It is a Daniel moment in the sense that we are in a difficult and in some ways, or for some people, hopeless situation. And so the Daniel moment is not defy man in order to honor God, but it is to hope in God, to remain faithful to Him, knowing and believing that whatever happens because of coronavirus or anything else that man might be trying to do to lessen the impact of it, God is still in control. And He's bigger than all of it, and I'm going to trust Him in this moment. So it's a Daniel moment that way, but it's not a Daniel moment in the sense of defy man in order to honor God. As you mentioned before, because I think right now, defying man is actually, in a sense, dishonoring to God, because the New Testament calling for us is to love God and love people.
Your neighbor, yeah.
And what the government is asking us to do, what man is asking us to do right now, is to love our neighbor.
Yeah.
That's not the term that they're using. That's not the words that they're using, but the rationale and the purpose behind their actions is concern for your neighbor. Wear a mask. That's not to protect you.
Yeah.
That's to protect your neighbor, the one in close proximity to you. Wash your hands. That's not to protect you. That is to protect those that are your neighbor, the ones who are in close proximity to you. Stay in, don't go out. Again, that's not to keep you from getting it as much as it is to keep you from transmitting it. They almost go hand in hand. They
Right.
go together, but it's all in the spirit of loving your neighbor. And I mean, the bottom line is our government's never going to use biblical terminology to call us into action, but they're using biblical principles.
Right.
That's Sean's take anyway, is that they're really asking us to practice biblical principles. And so as Christian people, we shouldn't be struggling with it. We ought to be simply saying, hey, that's no problem because I'm used to loving people.
Yeah.
That's what God called me to do.
I think you see it every day. People are putting others first, first by decree, but then just by practice. I mean, if you think about, during this time, even if you were to go to Walmart, you should limit who goes to Walmart, but if they're full, you have to stand outside and wait. Our normal life is, I need it now.
Yeah.
But there was a time when you had lines standing outside of Walmart patiently waiting for their turn, knowing that this was what needed to be done. So in essence, I'm putting him first or her first because this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, man, there's a lot of good, encouraging, uplifting moments to be captured out of the life of Daniel, and we've really only touched on a couple of things. But I want to, as we wrap up tonight, I want to issue the encouragement to say to all of us, let's make now a Daniel moment, in the sense of, despite whatever hopelessness or whatever negativity may be existing in our world at this moment, and church, there's plenty of it. There's plenty of hardship and negativity and hopelessness amidst this COVID-19 business. Let's make this about a moment for trusting in God, hoping in Him, and knowing that whatever is coming, whatever is asked of me, whatever the outcome of the next several days, weeks, or months is, my hope in God will remain. My faith will not waver in the midst of these challenges, because to me that's the overarching, most powerful portion of Daniel's story. Is he could have done like so many others of Israel seemingly did, and just fall in line and toe the line, or let the culture that they were in the moment direct them. Well, we don't want that. We don't want the negativity of this season to knock us off course in our faith. We want to hold true to our faith and our trust in God.
And Robbie brings it up in a comment, but I think it's true that we have to trust our lives to God. And do we have that kind of trust?
Yeah.
And, do we have that kind of faith? And I think that's important for us to examine on a daily basis.
Yeah. Well, I'm watching as we're wrapping up here, and I owe, they won't hear me now, but I owe an apology to those who watched online. It looks like you probably got cut off because I didn't leave the window of time that it would broadcast open long enough. But thank you so much to those of you that have joined us via FaceTime and that are probably still with us. I don't think there's a cutoff time with FaceTime, so thank you for joining us. And so glad that you were with us. Looking forward to sharing with you some of the changes and updates that are being made here while we're away from the building, enlisting some of you to help us as we need that help throughout the weeks. But before even all of that, I want to encourage you, continue to stay in contact with the family of faith here at North Bay. Reach out by telephone, send them a written note, maybe some emails and text messages. Just keep that contact going. among the family so that we grow together, not apart in this time of separation. Join us on Sunday morning as we bring worship time and communion time to you. Looking forward to hearing Phil Kaiser lead us through our communion time together. That'll be a blessing for all of us. And again, I'll put a plug in. If you're willing and able to lead our communion thoughts, let me know. Looking for some help in the weeks following this one to lead us in communion while we're apart.
And don't forget, this Sunday is Bring a Friend Day. You know, you invite
That's
a friend
right.
to the house, or invite yourself to a friend's house,
Yeah,
or maybe somebody that's not a friend. Maybe you can make friends, but let's try to start bringing people together, even if it's not in this building.
yeah. So connect with one another. Use the freedoms that we've sort of been given now to extend or broaden our social circles a little bit and invite somebody in. And also, do the survey. We mentioned that survey earlier. You should have got it in your email box. If you didn't, let me know. Do the survey. That will help us as we make plans moving forward for getting back together. We really do desire to know how you're feeling and what your needs are as we move forward. We want to do it well. We want to do it right. We want to do it safe. We want to do it in a way that honors God and honors one another. We want to love God, serve people, and be a blessing. So help us by filling out that survey. I can't think of anything else. I could go on talking just about anything all night long. That's not what you want to do. You're already probably speaking by signing off. I see the viewer count going down already. So we're going to say good night from here. Join me in a word of prayer, if you will, and then we will sign off. Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for the chance we have to use technology to gather together for a time of encouragement and updating and talking about your word together. I pray tonight that in our conversation we have been blessed and encouraged. I pray that as we navigate this challenging season, that you will give us wisdom, that you will guide us, and most of all, that you will help us to be powerful witnesses of your glory and of your grace amidst a season of hopelessness for some. Father, just help us to be light in the dark world. We thank you for Jesus. We thank you that he would die so that we could live. It's in his holy and precious name that we pray. Amen.
Yeah.
Grace and peace.
See y'all later.